As rightly said by Jeff Bezos, in today's era of volatility, there's no other way but to reinvent. The only sustainable advantage you can have over others is agility. That's it. Because nothing else is sustainable. Everything else you create, somebody else will replicate. On this note, I, Shyali Sharma, welcome you back to the third session of the Operation and Analytics Seminar, Business Transformation, Turning Technology and Innovation to Achieve Excellence. I would now like to introduce our first keynote speaker for this session, Professor Prem Chhetri. Professor Chhetri is currently associated with the School of Accounting, Information Systems and Supply Chain at the RMIT University, Australia. He is a professor of geologistics in the School of Business, IT and Logistics, and also the director of Global Supply Chain and Logistics Research Priority Area. He has published over 100 referred papers and numerous research reports for the government and industry. His recent research has focused on port logistics and climate change. Sir, we are honored to have you with us today. May I now request you to kindly deliver the keynote address. Please, sir.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, just a second. So you can start. In a minute, I guess. It's fine. Sir, it's fine now, yes. There was some issue with the audio.
Good. All right. Thank you. Can you play the video, please? That's the question.
Sure, sir.
Located at Webdock East in the Port of Melbourne, Victoria International Container Terminal sets a new global benchmark for innovation and port automation. VICT's state-of-the-art operation delivers a dramatic boost in trade capacity, supporting expansion of Australia's import and export markets. Our premier location outside the Westgate Bridge provides the first and only accessible container terminal into Melbourne for the next generation of larger vessels. But it's our innovative use of technology that makes VICT a global leader. We're the first terminal to integrate world-leading technologies into one seamless operation from ship to shore. Our fully automated in-gate makes it easy for trucks to enter and exit the terminal to maximise efficiency and save time. Drivers can drop off and pick up containers in a single visit, Automatic stacking cranes provide a smoother, safer interchange between trucks and container stacks. By integrating technologies, we've created a seamless experience for customers by truck or by ship. This means greater efficiency throughout your customer's supply chain. For our highly skilled workforce, innovation means safety delivered in a culture that is differentiated by our values. We're passionate about being part of the team delivering the world's best. Part of the award-winning ICTSI network, our community and environment are always front of mind. VICT is designed to minimise emissions, noise and light pollution, working with our neighbours to enhance sustainability. And beyond WebDoc, we promote positive outcomes for young people through our Community Investment Fund. VICT brings a new and different world-leading experience to Australia's premier container terminal.
On that note, thank you. Yeah, still going. Thank you very much, Shali Sharma. Thank you very much for the kind introduction, kind words. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, sir.
Hello. Okay. Good day and welcome. This particular video symbolizes the takeover of machine over human. A port which was flocked with port labor is now transformed into an automated production space. So, where are we heading with technology? My name is Prem Chhetri. I'm a professor and head of the Department of Supply Chain and Logistics in the College of Business and Law at RMIT University in Australia. Before I commence formally, I would like to express my gratitude and sincere thanks to Lal Bahadur Shastri Institute of Management for providing this unique opportunities to present my views on this highly thought-provoking topic, turning technology and innovation to achieve excellence. And I'm delighted to see, Ms. Sharma, that you highlighted the most important thing that is really emerging in the modern marketplace is agility, flexibility. I'm also grateful to our two professors, Professor Sandhya Makal and Shivani Bali, for organizing this remarkable and meticulously designed international seminar today with prolific thought leaders. Thank you very much for that. So, next slide, please. The topic of my talk today is the future of supply chain at a technocentric perspective. Next slide, please. The structure of this particular talk is simple. I'll talk about changes that are taking place in a globalized marketplace, production, distribution, and circulation of commodities, particularly as well as services. Market dynamics are really shaping the way we do trade today and the way we move commodity and freight from one place to the place. I'll talk about operation management in digital age with particular focus on industrial revolution, industrial 4.0, and its implications for supply chain largely, and conclude with some final remark. Thank you very much. Next slide, please. McKinsey Global Institute predicted that 50% of all current work activities might be automated by 2055. And that is quite alarming, quite alarming. Herbert Simon, a Nobel Prize winner in economics, expressed machines will be capable within 20 years of doing any work a human can do. It is therefore important to understand the adoption of automation and how it impacts on different industries. Explore the influence of automation on the workforce and identify the automation as a new normal. Society needs to adapt to those changes. And I can't remember the name of a great philosopher who said, it's not very important to create new ideas. what's important is to change the old ideas and old systems. Next slide, please. So we are creating new rules for the future. Anything that can be connected will be connected. We're creating a system driven by systems. We're creating a system of systems that would actually control the way we act, the way we move, the way we behave, and the way we interact with other people. Next slide, please. The next couple of slides, I really like to highlight the changes that are really shaping place in a globalized marketplace. So if you went back to 20, 30 years ago, I would say in the 90s, most of the trade that was taking place was largely the large commodities, the bulk commodities. I don't know, coal, still a key component of the international trade, but now things have changed. We've seen a great transformation in the world economic systems. Our production system is broken down geographically, so we're not producing in one location under a single plant. We're producing goods that need to be integrated across different locations, different time systems. So if you look at this diagram here, it clearly identifies two key transformations. On the one hand, we have an event called massification. So our vessels in the water are ships are becoming bigger and bigger. Ships or the vessels in the ocean can now accommodate about 30 to 40,000 TEU, that many containers in a single go. Enormous amount of containers can be carried on a single vessel that wasn't really been seen in the history of humankind. So at the water, you got large scale upgrade of vessels moving commodities of a large scale. On the other hand, automation. So we're taking and bringing in a large volume of freight into our shore via port and breaking them down into small atoms and distributing it to individual household. Now, this opened up a Pandora box of various challenges that we need to tackle. We need a system that is very agile in order to understand and predict the scale. So how do we deal with these sorts of changes that are taking place in the world system, linking highly fragmented local and regional economies into a single coherent, holistic way so that goods can be moved easily? Next slide, please. That are really shaping up supply chain. They are a big difference. Until say around 10, 20 years ago, we largely focused on efficiency, reducing costs and keeping supply chain quite part of our business. But now we're also talking about responsiveness. So the primary goal for efficient supply chain is to look into supply demand at the lowest cost. But now we want respond to that demand quickly. But design strategies also change in response to the way we deal with responsiveness. So if you look at the efficient supply chain, the focus is on maximizing performance at a minimum cost. Of product differentiation, right? Inventory, we're talking about reducing inventory at all and at a lower cost. So these things are really shaping the way we do business today, both for any quite responsive. Next slide, please. We're dealing with growing amount of uncertainty coming out of various sources. We are facing really a complex supply chain. So there's a growing complexity of supply chain, and there's also a growing level of uncertainty that business that could emanate from variation, foreseeable events, and of course, unknown unknowns, things that we do not know, that we can't really predict, we can't really understand. Which is repetitive. You can plan, you can control quite easily. If we have repeatable events that take place on a regular basis, we can still be able to an unknown, how do we deal with it? And COVID-19 is a classical example of things we were largely not knowing this is going to happen. And it has created a significant disruption in supply chain, a complete log scale. So the term known and unknowns are used quite commonly in project management and strategic planning circles. So known unknowns largely donates. Unknown unknowns are risks that come from situations that are so unexpected that we would not even think about, we would not even consider in the model work. Next, please. We need technology. We need significant technological disruptions to be able to understand those sorts of unknown situations. Technology is really shifting. There's no doubt about it. And operation management, supply chain are, of course, subject to those sorts of changes in technology. Digitalization of supply chain, of course, enables companies to address the new requirements of customers quite readily. But your mobile phone, you'll be collecting data on your consumption patterns. We can predict the challenges on the supply side, production side, and of course, remaining expectation in efficiency improvement. Digitalization leads really to supply chain 4.1, which comes with faster, more flexible, more. Here, what does it show? It's basically indicating a fact. We always know exact location and condition of each shipment that is being communicated by the IT systems. Autonomous truck now shipping those transshipments. They are basically free of humans now. Automated warehousing, robot picking up orders, loading on the trucks, and then transporting it. So we're talking about sheer capacity with warehouses not individually owned and utilized. They've been utilized by multiple partners as a part of the collaboration within the supply chain. But now we're talking about predictive shipping. We're shipping even before we get the order. Very smart thing to do. Consumer now can reroute the shipment via their mobile phones. So we got drones to deliver our goods. And all of these things are collected in a system, in a database, in a cloud that allow us to understand and forecast sales, price, product, weather conditions, promotions, events, channels, all in a single database system. So now we are able to look into end-to-end performance management now in silos, not in isolation, in a holistic way. Next slide, please. And this bring in the whole concept of Industry 4.0, which referred to the fourth industrial revolution. Some people call it a smart manufacturing, industrial internet, integrated industry. And these are quite much discussed topic to talk about in the modern world. But largely, Industry 4.0 contains of four key components: cyber physical systems, Internet of Things, Internet of Services, and of course, smart factories. So let me go through and introduce the whole concept of Industry 4.1. So we've seen in the past, if you look at the economic development of society and the world, we've seen many revolutions, many revolutions. So in the digital age, businesses are severely affected by technological disruptions. We're all aware of it. Historically, these major technological transformations are not only automating industrial settings, service delivery processes, but also workforce practices, training, and skills requirement. These transformations are framed as Industry 4.0. As I said earlier, fourth industrial revolution, which has potential to affect the entire logistic industry in transforming the way services are designed, produced, delivered, and paid. So there are four waves of industry revolution which have majorly disrupted industry practices and the way we have organized our society, production, and economic structure. So the first industrial revolution was sparked by the invention of steam-based machines that mechanized previously manual labor, the physical labor, and enabled incredible scale. In the second wave, electricity enabled assembly line, as remember the Fordism, and along with it, rise of mass production. So we're producing a single item on a large quantity on an assembly line. The third wave was brought by the invention of computers, which enabled the automation of robots and machines that could be integrated into assembly line, or enhance, or to some extent replace human workers. So robotics and electrics and automation not new. We got this put in place in 1780s in many parts of the world. But lately, now in the last phase, which is the fourth revolution, the fourth wave, which is large scale machine communication, machine communication, and the Internet of Things, which are integrated with increased automation, improved communication, and self-monitoring production smart machines that can analyze and diagnose issues without the need of human intervention. So we're here on the fourth revolution, which talks about cyber and physical space, connecting the cyber with the physical space. Next slide, please. So technology is becoming smarter and smarter. Technology is also learning. It's building cognitive ability through collecting and processing data to be able to make evidence-based, more informed decisions. Based on past events, for example, so learning through past learning processes. So cybersecurity system is one of the components of the Industrial 4.0. So what is it? So cybersecurity systems are integrations of computation with physical systems. So basically, we have physical layout, the machines. Now we can control those machines through cyberspace, through clouds, through other algorithms and smart learning tools. So embedded computers and network largely monitors and control the physical systems. The video that you have watched, basically the entire port is automated the entire port. So the straddles are picking up containers, the cranes are lifting up, containers from ship. The straddles are picking up containers and taking into the warehouses, or loading into trucks, all right, and shipping it out to the cities. So embedded computers and networks largely monitors and control the physical processes, usually with feedback loop, with physical processes back to computation, vice versa. So the two two systems that were being synchronized now are fully integrated through the cyber physical system. So they are integrated through parallel networks of control, namely, as I said, physical network of interconnected components of the infrastructure, the port infrastructure for that matter, or a factory environment, with a cyber network comprised of intelligent controllers and communication link among them, communicating smartly and linking it to help scheduling, production, and other systems together. In terms of the supply chain management, information related to the physical shop floor, for example, linked to the virtual computation space, and now, as I said earlier, are highly synchronized. Right? Now, this system of internet, allowing us for a whole new degree of control, just not control, surveillance, transparency and efficiency, including distribution systems. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. So what we have here is Internet of Things. Internet of Things, really the key element, which is bringing in and transforming the production and distribution system, creating efficiency on a larger scale. So Internet of Things not only has a potential to impact how we live, but also how we work. On a broader scale, the Internet of Things can be applied to things like transportation systems, smart cities, help us reduce waste and improve efficiency of things like energy use. The machines can communicate with other machines. They can activate other machines. They can make decisions. So if you get the slide here, it gives you some example of how Internet of Things can be practically affecting the way the systems operate. So, for example, smartwatches. Smartwatches, in fact, can monitor and manage your health conditions, your illness. It can actually help you improve your wellness. If you've got Internet of Things put in place at home, it can be used to use your energy smartly. If you're not there, through the sensor, it can detect your absence or presence in the house, and then it can regulate your energy consumption. Safety and security, of course, good CC cameras and other things. You can actually watch while at work. You've got other types of, if you look at city systems, public safety and health, your traffic conditions, traffic management. So Internet of Things have quite wider applications. Next slide, please. Here's another example. A recent study has demonstrated, it's very interesting, if you look at data capture, 99% of the data collected from 30,000 sensors on a particular rig are basically lost because of machine operation decision makers. So we're collecting a lot of data, but we're not really utilizing the data quite efficiently and effectively. So Internet of Things, just an example of that, now quite applicable in many places around the world, including in many cities in Australia, particularly at the retailers. So automated sort of layout could be optimized based on based on your connectivity with the network in a retail outlet or in a supermarket, based on your consumer behavior. Real-time personalized promotions. So while you are at a shopping center, you might probably get a text from the owner of the shopping center telling you various promotions that are going on at that time. Basically, proactively engage in the marketing campaigns trying to sell you, which you were not there to actually buy the products. Inventory optimization, customer tracking, those sorts of devices are all there in a very small confined space of the shopping center, and they communicate quite effectively with each other. Automated checkout, you don't need to queue up to pay. Your payment can be directed directly to the link that you have with your mobile phone there. Next one, please. So in other words, things are changing quite rapidly. A lot of things are getting smarter and smarter. And Internet of Things is now going to the services sector, which of course plays a significant role. So smart, similar, as I said, to the Internet of Things, an Internet of Services is emerging based on the idea that services are made easily available through web technologies, allowing companies and private users to combine, create, and offer new kind of value-added services. Banking and finance is a typical example of it. Now, we do most of banking through our phone. We don't need to go actually at the bank to do most of the transactions. We can do it readily, home or in anywhere where we have access to the Wi-Fi or internet. Now, as I said earlier, this technology, for the example of the retail industry, include automated checkout. Beacon automatically charges customers as they walk out of the store. Customer tracking, real-time in-store analytics enable improved customer care and reduce inventory shrinkage. Real-time personalized promotions, customized offers provided based on location, purchase history, or even, as I said earlier, layout optimization based on a comprehensive analysis of in-store customer behavior. Now, these sorts of things, this sort of system are put in place in many places, many cities in Japan, Korea, US, many cities in Europe too. And there are significant benefits and cost reductions. So automated checkout systems alone could add up to $380 billion in potential value. But combined with many other retail users of Internet of Things, McKinsey predicted the value could be more than 410 billion to 1.2 trillion by 2025. Far from there. So next slide, please. So we're leading to smart factories. So smart factories is basically built on the idea of a decentralized production system in which human beings, machines, and resources communicate with each other as naturally and a social network. And they are basically learning from the last previous events, collecting data on people's behavior, their history, and then learning cognitively and able to make decisions based on that patterns. The close linkage and communication between production machineries, transport system, and humans is expected to change the production logic, and that's very important. We're really moving away from that logic to which production used to be planned and executed. Now we are moving into a totally new different world, and I'll give you a few examples in a minute. Products nowadays can find their way independently through the production system, production processes, and are easily identifiable and can be located at any time. See, all of that captured in the database. And pursuing the idea of cost-efficient, yet highly flexible and individualized mass production. So here we're talking not about mass production, we're talking about customized. We're talking about individualized mass production. Next, please. Here are some examples. I'm not going to go through the entire diagram, quite complex diagram. So these are the improvement levers of supply chain 4.0. So I'll just give you an example, which consists of the service, capital, and cost, and bringing all of them together in a triangle in the form of agility. I'll give you an example of how Internet of Things and how the new transformation technology impacting on the planning process. So planning, we're talking about predictive analytics in demand planning. So we gathered enough technology for us to understand the demand pattern in the future. Closed loop planning, we're not talking about simple planning, we're talking about supply chain loop, which include from production all the way to consumption, but at the same time waste and disposal. Automation of knowledge work, advanced profit optimization. So the automation, technology, Internet of Things, machine learning, artificial intelligence, these are the sort of things that are really shaping the key components of supply chain, including planning, physical flow, material handling, performance management, order management, supply chain collaboration, and of course, supply chain strategy. Very smart way to manage supply chain, which involve multiple players. Next, please. In other words, if we want to sustain business, if we want to compete in business, we've got to be faster, more flexible, more granular, and more accurate and efficient. Next, please. I'm not really sure how I'm going with the time, so I'll go quickly. So, new approach to product distribution is taking place. Reduce delivery time of fast runners. Now we talk about Uber delivery. Customer is now ordering online, and they expect the goods to be delivered as soon as possible at home. So things, the customer expectation has grown disproportionately, and the logistics and supply chain need to respond to demand and that expectation. So we need to be faster and more efficient. Now, Amazon has already patented what they call the predictive shipping. Now, products are very interesting concept, predictive shipping. Products are shipped before the customer places an order. The customer didn't place an order yet, but companies are shipping it out. Very interesting. Customer order is later matched. We have already sent the order, but now we are matching while it's in transit with what being ordered, which we have ability to predict what some people actually order on a regular basis. And the shipment is then rerouted to the exact customer destination. Very smart things to do. Next, please. We're becoming more flexible. Very, very flexible. We've got to be flexible. So supply chain 4.0 ad hoc, real-time planning allows. So it is a real-time. People collect data in real time. We got this, the devil in our hand, mobile phone. It's collecting data, where we are, what we're consuming, we're talking, we're interacting, what we're buying. And these sorts of data being put together into big data. Yeah. And that allows real-time tracking, real-time planning, allowing companies to respond flexibility to changes in demand or supply, minimizing planning cycles, if producing goods in short cycles, very short span of time, and of course, frozen periods. Urbanization is another example of that. The transport, our crowdsourced, flexible transport capacity now significantly increase agility in the distribution network. Manufacturers will never be able to do or sell their goods to the consumers. Now they can do direct consumer opportunities they can explore. Next slide, please. Granularity, the scale. Now, we're not looking at the market on a larger scale. We're not looking at the consumer market. We're looking at the individual level, what X or Y consume on a daily basis. And then predictive analytics and predictive shipping allow us to ship those things before the demand arises. So with customers looking for more and more individualizations. They want to contribute to the design of the product before they actually consume or buy. Companies must manage demand, of course, at a much more granular level. And this includes techniques, micro-segmentation, mass customization, and more sophisticated scheduling practices. Innovative distribution concept, including drone delivery, will allow companies to manage the last mile logistics more effectively and efficiently from a single piece and high value, dense packages, fulfilling customers' customization needs while delivering their order even faster than is possible today with mass market standardized product. So we are talking about individuals, we're not talking about large society or community or a market segments. We've gone to that scale of a very small granularity of the market. Next slide, please. Accuracy. Next generation performance management. Now we're talking end-to-end transparency throughout the supply chain. So supply chain might consist of thousands of suppliers in the system. Now we're talking end-to-end transparency, accuracy of data collection and data distribution, information sharing, information visibility, and so on and so forth. We are really pushing hard to achieve the efficient frontiers which we've been theorizing for a very long time and learning through the systems. Next slide, please. More efficient. The automation of both physical tasks and planning really boosting supply chain efficiency, no doubt about that. Robots handle the material, as you see in the port automation. Machines are actually lifting those containers. Completely automated. The warehouse process from receiving, loading, unloading, palleting, ordering, order picking, all of these things are really automated, and technology does play a significant role in those sorts of utilization of assets. Next slide, please. Just in time and just in sequence. I'm not really sure how much time I have, but I'll quickly wrap it up in a couple of slides. So just in time, we are expecting goods to arrive just in time. So the manufacturers are not producing goods until and unless they receive an order. So now we're moving up more advanced from just in time to just in sequence. So even the sequencing is now being designed in a way to fulfill that demand, which potentially hasn't been arrived yet. So a close coordination between suppliers and buyers, of course, is important for the successful execution of the supply chain. Next, please. I won't go through in detail, but it basically shows how just in time and just in sequence linked to the Industry 4.1. I'll give an simple example. Production planning. So production planning in terms of just in time is a precise planning of production based on future demand patterns and forecast. Now, with Industry 4.0, we do have the ability, enhanced ability for real-time tracking of material flow and, of course, supply chain integration. Likewise, production order, disposition and production, and, of course, for delivery. So these are now well integrated, well embedded with the revolution that really transform the production distribution system through Industry 4.0. Thank you. Next slide, please. I think this is the last slide. Blockchain technology, it is buzzword, quite commonly used. A very interesting technology for real-time tracking of goods and services, even currency. A few examples there. Walmart is working with IBM and Tsinghua University in Beijing to follow the movement of meat in China with the blockchain. Mining giant BHP Billiton is using the technology to track minerals. Financial transaction. Now we got the electric ledger, which actually has the ability to track the entire history of any transaction of a particular now transfer money, for example. So blockchain is really coming up in a big way, which potentially can impact businesses quite significantly, bringing a particular area of society broadly. Next slide, please. I think that's the last slide. Here we go. So I just felt like part of Australia is not really habited by humans. Most of us actually live on the coast, along Adelaide, Brisbane, Sydney, Gold Coast, and so on and so forth. So when you're traveling on Australian road, your GPS device is telling you straight on night for another 1,000 kilometers. So in other words, you can actually let the car drive itself because there's no turn. You're going straight onto a highway without any disruption or open play field for any automation. Automation now shaping up for the mining activities. So I'll stop here. And might is something quite common in Australia. We call everybody might. And I thought when I arrived in Australia 25 years ago, I thought might is a name, and I wonder why everybody's might. They only have one name there. So conclude. During previous industrial evolution, as I described earlier, it often took decades to build the training systems and labor market institutions needed to develop major new skill sets on a large scale. We had the time to do so. Now, given the upcoming pace and scale of disruption brought about by fourth industrial revolution 4.0, this is simply not an option. We don't have time. We need to adapt quickly, or we have to adapt now. On that note, thank you very much for listening. I'm sure there might be some disruptions while I was talking, but thank you for the opportunity. Over to you.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your valuable views with us. The floor is now open for the questions. I would like to hand over the floor for moderation to Mr. Kanishk Mittal.
Good afternoon, sir. So the question I would like to ask you is, as customers are driven towards e-commerce marketing, what strategies could be implemented to achieve smoother and safety-driven approach in delivery and distribution of products?
Very interesting question, Kanishk. The technology is really not the only answer. I have to say that. We're collecting a lot of information. We are hardly using that information to make real-time decisions on things. E-commerce is really growing quite rapidly, and we have seen a tremendous growth under the COVID-19 situation. Technologies are there. Technology has always been there. What was missing was legislation, government control, and risk reduction, the mitigation of those potential risks. For example, the drones can deliver goods any time. The technology existed for the last few years. The market, in my view, will change, and it will change quite significantly. Companies that do hold the size and scale, they would be in a good position to take over the market. They could potentially control the market. So corporatization of that market will play a significant role. Corporatization would not only bring efficiency and leanness, but also flexibility. And potentially the physical space through which, but India, we are progressing very fast in terms of technology, but our physical space, that hasn't changed much. Our roads are still totally congested, services are quite poorly organized. Of course, that depends on the sector. I'm not saying that the technology is the only answer, because technology can be quite dangerous. It can, in fact, replace labor force and could push us into a society where there's going to be massive joblessness. And you don't want that kind of society to emerge. We have to be very careful how we bring in those technology into our society, not to control us, but to shape and help us get prosperity and improving our well-being. So e-commerce, of course, needs to be technology-driven. Big data is important for us to understand demand analysis, predictive analysis. All of this allow us to actually expand the market, and the market is not limited; it is global. So Indian firms need to really put together their act and start to act globally. We do have a fair bit of presence, but mostly the services sector, IT sector. But we need to get into manufacturing. We need to really compete with some of the powerful countries that are really emerging and challenging us. Even Bangladesh is doing quite good in the garment sector. And I still remember in the 80s and 90s, India was one of the leading garment exporter. And I remember growing up in Delhi, factories were everywhere in small houses, so very small scale production. Now we are not really competing with this with Bangladesh. Now we do have technical, and we also have this economy scale up our India, the country, with a lot of consumption and growing middle class. I'll probably stop there. I think I've spoken too long. Thanks.
Thank you so much, sir. Over to you, comparing team.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Kanishk. I would now request Dr. Sugandha Agarwal and Dr. Sandhya Makkar to felicitate Professor Dr. Chhetri. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for organizing this seminar so effectively. I'm really amazed the way you did that remarkable. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to introduce our next keynote speaker to you, Professor Dr. O.P. Wali. Dr. Wali is currently working with Indian Institute of Foreign Trade, Delhi, as a consultant at the level of professor. He has been heading the Center for International Trade and Technology since 2013. He has more than 27 years of experience in corporate and academics. He has played a prominent role in marketing of rural produce products in terminal markets and productive enhancement program of Mother Dairy F&V project in Delhi, which was a unit of National Dairy Development Board, India. He rolled out the first online management degree program initiative of Indira Gandhi National Open University and also initiated online learning extension for IIFT programs across the country. He has worked on ICT policy issues pertaining to the education sector in developing countries at UNESCO Paris in 2007 as a visiting scholar. He has done policy research and consultancy in the domain of technology, textiles, and organizational transformation and trade. He is engaged in various transformation projects in government and other organizations. Sir, we are honored to have you with us today. I would now request you to address the audience. Please, sir. Sir, you are not audible. Please unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you for the wonderful introduction, and I'm honored to be here. It's great to be in this interesting seminar, international seminar, quite appropriate topic and the subject. And I'm afraid I don't resemble with the photograph that you've shown in the introduction. This is my old photograph in my website. So the COVID effects. So we at home and doing stuff. And I have heard a couple of the sessions that have gone in the morning. The focus has been on the technology side and how technology is accelerating the need for the innovation in the companies. I would talk about that, but interestingly, a lot of my content has become redundant. What has been really spoken from the morning, so I would focus more on the governance and the leadership, and I would be taking examples from the Indian context as a part of my engagement with these kind of projects in the past. So just share my my lessons, what I have really learned from these kind of engagements would be something to really of value for the audience. I understand, most of the audience here are your students, so I would try to be as simple and as easier as possible because the most trouble thing in today's time is the jargon of the technology, so it's difficult to handle at times. So I would just share my screen and just give me a moment. So I hope you are able to see this. Can you see this screen? Yeah. Is that visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So two things. In fact, as I was telling you that I am going to really focus on the governance. I mean, the leadership part of that. Why it is so important. And second is and putting the things in the context and sharing the lessons from the Indian the kind of projects that we have done. What I really feel is, and you will agree with me that transformation is not a choice now. It is a kind of an imperative. Why I say that? The problem is that when the things around you are basically changing, that you can't really be sitting and just remain quiet. So you have to sustain, you have to really change. And for the survival, to sustain and to really grow. So what is really happening and what has really happened is not really something that has happened quite recently. So it is work in progress, which is last 2 decades we have been seeing, but it has been growing every day. And it has reached a kind of a threshold, trust me, in the last couple of years now. So what we are seeing is that, whether it is the partners of your business, whether it is the regulators, whether it is, the internal people in the organization, everybody is actually, adapting what we call as the digital technologies. So once that happens, the choice remains very lesser to, whether I should really transform it or not. And you can afford to really, sit and delay the whole the initiative or the process of getting transformed, but you can't really afford when your customers, the key audience, your key targets are actually changing. And I need not to really, brief you on that because you understand it very well that, the people in general, whether, you take India as well, like, the kind of change that is really happening, the way people are accessing information, the way people are, making their buying decisions, the way search for products, the way you want to really buy them, procure them, everything that whether it is stays, whether it is urban stays, whether it is semi-urban, even in the rural areas, people are adapting technology like anything. So you don't really a choice. So the companies across have to really adapt, and it is that what is actually driving the transformation, digital transformation. Now, if transformation is not a choice, it is an imperative, where does really innovation really fit in? So that is my, uh, second part, is that transformation is basically puts you at par with the people who are actually transforming. It makes you capable of interacting with the other partners in the game, whether they are competitors, whether they're your suppliers, they are your, people who really finance you. So you have to be. You can't otherwise be compatible in that ecosystem. But to really stay ahead of the game and to really leverage the opportunities that are really surrounding you, you need to do something, which is really extraordinary, which is something which basically adds more value to your, say, targeted constituencies. So you have to reimagine your current, say, processes. You may have to reimagine about the products. You may have to rework on the entire business model and the kind of partnerships that you're creating to create more value, to create more, capabilities to create that kind of a value, to really relook at the channels that you're actually, engaging with your customers, relationships, the kind of, activities that you are doing, reworking on the cost structures, revenue channels. So there is, there are different areas, and the scope is, it depends on the way you innovate about the scope of creating innovation. So both. So companies and firms, whether it is a smaller company or a bigger company, they actually need to do that. They need to innovate to really stay ahead, to stay, comfortable in the game of what you call as the this competitive war that happens in the marketplace, say in the commercial world. So you need to really innovate. Okay. Now, is really now the innovation enough? Now you can actually innovate and be comfortable that, look, I have, say pockets of say capability, or guys within the organization who can create innovative solutions to the current problems, or new solutions to the newer problems, better solutions. So, there are different ways of looking at the innovation. I don't go into the, the detailed lecture on innovation, but broadly, is about a better solution to an existing problem, or a new solution to a new problem. So looking at the possibilities that is actually available to you, whether it is technology, whether it is, the knowledge of things that can really help you to really do that. So we're talking about the capabilities and the the knowledge within the organization to be leveraged. Okay, so trust me, that is really not which is going to really work again in the future. It's not just innovation alone that is going to really help. It is the speed of innovation that is really important. So what I mean by that is you may innovate, but if you take time to really innovate, it may not really help much. So you have to really increase the speed of the innovation, the agility of delivering innovation. That is really important. Now, the recent example is the, let us say, the COVID times. The pharma sector, they had to really innovate on the response to this great pandemic problem. And the winners, I don't think my guess would be different than yours, are the companies who have been able to really innovate faster. Right. Similarly, there were other solutions to the problem on different aspects other than the vaccine. So companies who could actually do it faster, who could really be agile, who could really respond quickly, are actually, the guys who stay ahead of the game. So how do you do that? How do companies actually, manage this? And so there are different, kind of templates and frameworks that are going around, what we call as GYAN, that is actually circulating. You can look at that. So we need to really look at what is really working and what is really not working. But one important thing in innovation is that it prescribes a condition. It prescribes a conducive condition for experimentation, for liberal thinking, for risk taking, for allowing people to do what they really would like to do and try their, kind of ideas. within an organization. So it may be a bit easier in smaller companies, in the startups and early stage companies, but frankly, the evidence is that is really not that easier and that allowable in not many companies. I don't generalize it, but it is really not so. That what it means is there are companies who basically are quite kind of tolerant to these kind of things, tolerant to the experimentation, tolerant to people applying their ideas, and to companies who actually allow, who in kind of some level of tolerance, which we call companies who actually get into the incremental kind of experimentation, because they are quite big, they are large, and so they can afford that kind of experimentation, because they don't want to destabilize their existing say way of doing things. And there are companies who are really not even that tolerant. So I don't say they don't experiment, they don't want to have innovation, but thing is the atmosphere to really work with the ideas and innovate something needs that flexibility, and which is really not quite common. And second part of this innovation story is that you also need the talent. You also need people to really who can actually do that, what we call as the competencies, the skill, the knowledge, the experience, and then the way of thinking. So is the kind of a challenge that the companies actually face while they do that. What can really make it happen? What is the biggest factor that is really important in such kind of a situation where you need to really innovate, you need to innovate faster, and you need to really be ready for the kind of risk that is there with the innovation, because it means experimentation, it means there's a possibilities of failure. So the third thing that I'm talking about is the governance. That becomes the key factor in really driving innovation in the organization. When I say governance, it means the leadership, it means the CXO levels, it means the people who actually advise the CXO and control their behavior. So as I was talking about, there are different kinds of templates that are really available, frameworks based on the kind of say experiences of the companies, which have been captured by the consultants, by the academicians, researchers, to see what basically works, what doesn't really work, and giving kind of trying to capture it and help understand others, how somebody is going to really work it out, and see a kind of a smooth say transition to the reimagined kind of a situation, and where you're able to deliver more value. So if you look across these templates, what I really feel sometimes there is this dimension of leadership, which is quite common in most of these templates, whether it is whether it is people who are practitioners, who have actually studied companies who have transformed innovatively, or it is the researchers. So across this dimension is quite common, and can be trusted as the most important dimension to really make organization-wide transformations possible and help companies innovate. So when I say governance, I say the people in the board, people who are advising the top leadership, they are quite important. This is a tricky part, the board and the CXO level, who actually are at the helm, and the one is going to really do things, other group of people are going to really oversee the things, because they represent the stakeholders, they represent the shareholders, and they have a different kind of a responsibility. Now, if you look at a lot of companies who have actually, done excellent innovation and have transformed, and have rather helped the host of companies even to transform. So they are not just transformed themselves; they are also helping other companies to really transform. Say, example, Facebook, Google, and what is called this Netflix, LinkedIn, all these companies. They are, they are kind of the front runners in this kind of a game. And if you look at their board structures, you will find a kind of a pattern that there is the majority of the members in those kind of governance teams are they are kind of like-minded. They are quite in a kind of a demographic pattern in terms of the age, in terms of their background, in terms of their experience, and in terms of their relationship with the CEO of the organization. So that may not be really, kind of great thing for the finance guys. They may not really look, kind of comfortable with that kind of a situation. But for a company who's actually innovating, in today's world, it is working for them, and that is what it is. So when I say board members, it is actually applicable to the listed companies, what I'm talking about. And but what we have really seen, a lot of companies who are actually smaller, who are startups, are in early stages of their growth. The companies normally have these founders. It could be one gentleman or one person, or there could be some people who or she. So they would be actually, ready to take advice from people who are actually having the domain understanding, who can actually build, who can complement their competencies, and the advisors who are, who understand technology, who can actually help them to, free up from the, frustration of that. There's a huge risk in really innovating something. So the people who can actually kind of give you, kind of confidence that as an advisor, I'm talking about the smaller companies who can actually help you to really, take that risk, at least give you confidence, and can give you kind of, moral support for that. So that is, I have really seen. I have been to this technology hub, which is in Telangana, which is a kind of support system for the young entrepreneurs to start their company, startups, etc. So this is a technology startup. So there you have more than 100 these incubators who actually work on different technologies to build those startups. I had a chance to really, go there and talk to various guys over there. But I could really figure out that a lot of them are really, they at times start feeling kind of, frustrated or lose confidence. Then you need somebody to really give you kind of that confidence and help you to take the risk. And I have also, interacted with a lot of companies in the early stage, who have actually formed these advisory groups. And wherever the advisory groups, who they create, maybe their friends, their relatives, or people they would like to be mentored by. So you are wherever the people who are there, who are helping them to, take risk and understand, appreciate the utility of, experimentation or risk taking, and understanding the customer side well, and then innovating around that. These companies have shown better progress than the companies who have really not looked at the advice and just try to do it solo, and at some time you just get fed up, you lose the confidence, and you just give up, and the whole the idea is a good idea could sometimes be away off the board. So that is quite, these are the kind of possibilities that that governance can actually allow companies, allow corporates to really tread the path of speedy innovation faster. If the board members, if the the top leadership is restrained to really take decisions which could be kind of which have a kind of an implication which could be costly sometimes. And if the members are not really comfortable with that, if they don't really allow that, if they are not in synergy with what the executive membership is actually, executive level is actually thinking about, then this may not be really, kind of a comfortable thing. Second important thing is that, you need a capability inside the organization. And many times in transformational projects, you need to really reset and what you call as do a lot of makeover things. So these are hard decisions, and these need a lot of consensus within the organization. I mean the management, but it needs also the support from the top. So again, the board members, whatever changes you are actually trying to do inside, if you want to really get into a new thing and want to do something which is transformational, which is radical in nature. Mostly, big innovative projects have that kind of, the radical element, and that then it needs the support from the top leadership. So having said, this particular thing that the governance is crucial, critical, and important for, the speedy innovation within the current day organization, whether they are smaller or bigger. What I want to now take you to is the context, what I was talking about, the cases that I have really seen. So that I can really tell you the kind of lessons and how that really corresponds to what I have just said before about the importance of leadership in the transformation. Okay, so I will just give me. Now, one of the first companies that I want to really talk about is I think everybody must have really heard about, people in Delhi particular. And this Mother Dairy Delhi is a basically offshoot of, is a kind of an entity which is under the National Dairy Development Board. I happen to really work in this organization quite early in, it is early 90s I'm talking about. And interestingly, I don't know how many people actually know, Mother Dairy has another, this is basically into two, it works in two areas. One is the milk and other is the fruits and vegetables, the fresh produce. And this fruit and vegetable business is now part of the Mother Dairy Private Limited, but it is initially a project, it's a separate project. And it was actually, it started somewhere around mid-80s. And it was considered as the first paperless office in North India. I remember in those days, I was working, in the marketing department, and we used to have a lot of delegations which used to come from abroad just to visit and see what this new entity is all about, because it was a novel project of Government of India under the NDDB, because it was actually connecting the farmers, the farmer cooperatives from different parts of the country to the terminal retail markets in the city of Delhi. So there's a kind of a huge value for the society at large, the farmer community and the customers in the city, because you will get the produce directly, you will get at the most reasonable price, and there's a huge value creation for these producers and the suppliers, which are spread across the country through a cooperative system. Okay, that is what NDDB basically has been all about, promoting the cooperative culture in the milk and the allied agriculture sectors. Now, this organization was totally made paperless from the start. Right. Now, how does really technology help to really run this organization? What is so interesting about that? Trust me, even in those days, we had around 300 outlets in Delhi. Now I think it has grown to around 700,000 across NCR. You have to supply every day to all these outlets, get demand, which is, these are around lakhs of items which are being actually ordered by these outlet owners to the central office, and you have to make entire thing work in a matter of hours. 40 years now, this organization has not stopped operations for a single day, no disruption. That is what technology has been able to really do. When I say paperless, it means everything paperless from when you enter the organization till you leave the organization, whether it's a product, whether it is a person, whether it's finances, everything is totally automated. I'm not talking about today, pandemic time. I'm talking, trust me, late 80s, early 90s. This is how this organization used to work. It was guided and kind of consulted at that time by Japanese government to put a kind of a culture that is important. The culture was that it would not work like the traditional Indian companies. You will have all people from, the most frontline person to the topmost, the managing director, everybody in the same uniform, same principle, no attendant business. Everybody has to do their job themselves, right? And everything on only computers, no paper, right? That is how it was actually meant to really work. And that actually made it work like that. And how was digital enablement of this organization helping it to really function? Trust me, one day the server in the computer division failed. It just happened because of some problem. It didn't work. It just broke down for just one day. It took us almost 55 days to recover from that particular issue. I mean, the discrepancies, the problems that happened because of one day manual work in a digitally transformed company. That actually gives you one lesson that, there's a huge advantage, there's a huge value for the stakeholders when you're running a digitally transformed organization. But there's a huge cost if you don't really manage it right, if you have issues, if you have glitches, if you don't really handle things well, if you have security problems. See, nowadays we have a lot of security problems. Those days these were not security problems, but there were technical problems that used to really happen, right? So this is one particular lesson from this kind of transformation that I have really learned. Second is what really made this organization so successful, right? And it is till date has been really functioning. It is functioning smoothly because it is responsible to the public as well. But second important thing is what initially I saw as a success factor of such kind of an organization is the role of the leadership. The leadership, how they interact with the people at the front line. So those days, the people who were really, looking at the top and for this journey of transformation, they used to interact quite, regularly with the people who are actually at the, at the bottom of the pyramid in the organization, in the hierarchy, interact with them, get ideas, and that allowed a lot of, kind of idea creation, experimentation. We have worked those days almost, I believe, around some 10 to 20 different pricing models. And a lot of them failed. And the leadership never actually offended with that. So they allowed that. So the second part, what I was telling you, and I told you earlier also, is allowing people to really take decisions, to experiment, and not get really, kind of this problem of, stopping experimentation because of the failures. It is not that the leadership, I mean the managing director those times who was actually overseeing the entire operations would actually allow that. It is also the people who are above him, the governors, the board. They also allowed that person to really do that. So both things, the leadership within the organization and leadership, which is actually the governance, which controls your leadership in the management, also allows them to really do that. That actually makes things happen, right? Second interesting project that I'm going to really talk about is what is called now GEM, Government E-Marketplace. Is a project which is actually running now, which is B2B kind of a platform, online platform of Government of India under Ministry of Commerce. It is earlier it was known as DGSND. This department is actually used to handle public procurement, government procurement, that all the procurement that government bodies, institutions do across the country that were handled by this, what is called the DGSND, Department of this procurement and supplies, right? So, and disposal, sorry. So earlier disposal was also handled by them. So now what happened is they floated a separate company, what you call as a spin-off, in 2014 by the name of GEM, Government E-Marketplace. What is it? It is totally an online platform which actually helps all government departments to procure their requirements, let us say uniform, furnishing, hygiene, car rentals, whatever you think of in terms of the running the operations of a government or say public sector enterprises, or say institutions, they are supposed to buy through this online platform. Okay. Earlier, this organization was operating in a manual way, right? And it was operating at a kind of a scale. Now, this particular, transformation has helped this organization to go into a multiple, which is more than 10, right? That is what basically, transformation has helped it to really do. That means, second, it has helped the procurement being more transparent, procurement being more efficient. How do they do that? Earlier, it was a fixed price that remained there for a year, and the organization had to buy through that kind of an arrangement. Now, because of this online platform, they are able to now do auction. They have innovated through different auction methods, which are first time they have been able to use the demand aggregation, the reverse auction, and combination of this. That is what they have been able to really augment on top of the earlier methods. Second, they have been able to scale the number of products and services that they could really include after they have been able to really transform, right? So all in all, there is a lot of value for the entire community. I think the community of buyers who are the government entities and the sellers, including, and there's a kind of, it is mandatory for buyers to buy from, smaller, medium enterprises. And that is, you can actually appreciate the advantage in that. All this could happen, the earlier transformation, the phase one transformation, in a matter of months. That is where I was actually working with them, engaging with them. What could really make it possible? It is really difficult to transform. Let me tell you, even in the organizations who are actually, even highly IT driven, if they have to transform, it takes a lot of time to even, make up the mind, and then to transform, and then, complete this entire process. For an organization which is worked within the government space and then making it happen, what I really learned is the decisiveness of the leadership. The people who were actually managing that whole affair were quite decisive. They would take decisions quite fast. Second, they would work very closely with people from different domains who could help them to really make things work, to set the blocks in place and get things in, action. So leadership, the support for the leadership from the government. Third is the engagement with right capabilities to make new things really work. So this appreciation, who you really need to really take the transformation forward, that ability of the top leadership to get the right capability at the right place is actually something which is actually very, very important in such a situation. You may have to really understand, to make this whole platform work in the new kind of a situation, it needed a lot of change in the policy. So this policy support was in the form of changing the rules, changing the policy for that. So you have new, what we call as GFR rules, the financial rules for buying and selling of government. They were amended in alignment with what was actually platform able to really do. So this alignment of policy with the change, the innovation that you are trying to do, the transformation you are trying to do, is something very critical to the success of this kind of a project, right? So this is another interesting example to really see the role of leadership in really making things happen, whether it is really, helping people to give ideas, whether it is helping whether it is identification of the talent, capabilities, and partnering with the talent to get these things, in place to really run the show. Because when you are running a new transformation project, you may have to really go out of the way to get new talent in the organization. You may have to really put the existing capabilities in a different place, and that, the conviction of really you are doing right. One, second, to really put the people in the right place and to get the right capability identified and hire them. You have to sometimes, do some things which are not really quite routinely procedural. You have to really do something different. Third project quickly, I think I'm really running out of time. I just take a couple of minutes. So I think third project, which was quite interesting for me, was, an e-learning project, which I did a couple of projects. I did one at IGNO, I did one at IIFT. But what I really learned is your solutions, new solutions that you're thinking, if they're not really customer centric, stakeholder centric, that could be really, kind of a problem for the success of your project. So the people who are running the transformation project, the executors, they have to really understand this thing that the stakeholders in case of e-learning is not just students, it is teachers also. So whether they're comfortable with the new procedures and the processes that you're trying to bring in with the transformation, if they are not really, if they can't really take it, then probably your project will not really move forward. So in case of a company, it means the employees, if you bring in a new technology, if your capabilities are not aligned, then probably you have to see how you really do that. Either you have to really upgrade the capability of the people to know the sync with the technology, or you have to really see a different way out how you really manage it. Otherwise, if the employees are not really, the inner people or your partners are not able to really manage the technology, that could be a problem. Example again is that when this DGS&D was transforming into the GEM government e-marketplace, it also required their partners, I mean the suppliers, they should have the IT systems which could be aligned to the new transformational project. If they are not able to really align to your project, probably you cannot really move forward. Okay, so the key lesson, I want to really give you 3 things that are really important as, my take from this entire thing that I wanted to really share with you. Okay, just give me a second. Is the culture of the organization is the key thing for the innovative society. That is, how the organization really function. The culture, I mean, is the leadership and the employees. Employees are able to really, they can give ideas. There's a culture of really, sharing. There's a culture of really, seeing the company moving forward with something new, which can create value for the society. That kind of, understanding, and also the leadership, which is quite supportive. That culture is really important. Second is that partnership and networks. That is, many times you don't have the capability inside. You have to really look outside to see the capabilities that can really make your ideas, fructify. That can really, create kind of a more value. So this is something really I really brought from the lessons that I really learned. And third is important thing, and most important thing in Indian context, is that you need to have the trust in the Indian local competencies. I see a lot of competitive talent which is lying, but you need to really give them the atmosphere and the the right incentive to really convert their ideas and talent into something that could be innovative. So 3 things I think I thought is kind of I would like you to really take home as the lessons from the Indian context. Thank you so much. I think it was a wonderful, is a wonderful kind of a topic, innovation-led transformation. Every day we are learning, so we need not to really generalize what I said right now, because as we really learn more, we need to really be open to that and adjust our thinking to that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your valuable views with us. The floor is now open for the questions. I would like to hand over for moderation to Mr. Sarthak Sharma.
Good afternoon, sir. The question we have from our students is that what government policies could be adopted for smooth and proper implementation of customer data privacy?
Okay. I think there is currently this data localization is one policy which is already in the process, right? And second is the cyber security. There's a cell of cyber security. Its name is ICERT. It is under Ministry of IT. So these people, they are very critical in terms of really what is really happening in terms of this cyber security in particular. The requirement is that organizations need to really inform and about any kind of a security breach, vulnerabilities which are there, so that it can be looked into, and there could be a solution that could be really made available to those companies who can really implement that, and the breach can be really addressed. But apart from that, I think the policy also prescribes one thing. Already the policy is there that particularly you need to take adequate precautions as an organization to make sure that your systems are thickened. When we say networks are thickened, that means it is tolerant to kind of breaches that is there. It's not tolerant, is it can really protect itself from any kind of breaches that can really happen. So there's a policies are already in place, but I think more needs to be done, because the problem with the IT is as newer solutions come in, the more kind of newer problems also erupt. The people find newer and newer ways of really breaching the vulnerabilities or cracking into the systems. So this is an ongoing process, but as far as the data security, I think that the data localization is one such kind of a prevention. Second is the cyber security, because finally the data is within a system and you can only access it through the networks. And one of the most open networks is the internet. So if you are able to now develop a very kind of a stronger policy around the internet, what can be accessed, what can be downloaded, or what is really transferring from one person to other person, or in organization to the individuals. So I think that could be a kind of an improvement that can be really thought of in terms of the data protection. It is in process. It is not really something which is very perfect. It is not only in India, I think across the globe, that is, people are trying to understanding more and more vulnerabilities and problems, and they're trying to work it out. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Over to the comparing team.
Thank you, Sarthak. I would like to call Dr. Shivani Bali and Dr. Sandhya Makkar to felicitate Dr. O.P. Wali.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank
Now I would like to introduce our next keynote speaker to you, Dr. Kanika Gandhi. Dr. Gandhi is a senior maintenance engineer, data science at Volvo GTO, Sweden. She is managing and developing new projects with the university to bring in new solution models for the organization. She has done postdoctoral in data mining for maintenance from University of Skövde, Sweden. She holds doctoral degree in supply chain optimization from University of Delhi. Her research areas are data-driven methods for maintenance development, quality improvement models, and supply chain optimization. Ma'am, we are honored to have you with us today. I would now request you to address the audience. Ma'am, you're not audible. You are on unmute. Can you unmute yourself, ma'am?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're audible.
Some technical issues. I was unmuted, but something. Okay, that's normal. Okay, good morning and good afternoon, everybody. From Sweden, Kanika Gandhi, work with Volvo GTO. And what can I say more about me? I think it was very good introduction already. And we can straight move towards the presentation and the discussion I want to make. But some idea, when you think about operation system, what comes in your mind first? What comes, is it like machines, or it is like human, or it is like raw material? What comes in your mind first? Can anybody answer me on that? Any answers from anybody? Or should I just move to the discussions directly? Can you hear me, first of all?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
That's great. Then I just move. I think I should run the presentation first, and then we can take the questions as it has been said. But when I see any production unit, when I see any operation, then as a company, I don't only see machines. I don't only see raw material. I see many other things connected to machines and raw material, connected to human resource. And apart from machines, I see data. Apart from human working with machines. I see their competence, their domain knowledge, and how it can be used for future transformation as the right topic for this seminar. I think it's very good this seminar is being held, and this is the right time for the industry to see things, how transformation can be taken place from the I would say traditional way of working to a very digital way of working, or somewhere in between, or finding a trade-off between the two different entities. Right, so I just share my screen and show you something what my company is, and then we discuss the topic of the day. Can you all see my screen? Can anyone answer me on that? Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am, your screen is visible.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. So when we say production, we like to see so many videos on YouTube already. We know how a production unit works. We see so many videos were coming on Discovery channels, and there are so many videos on OTT channels nowadays available, which clearly shows that production of a company which develops or which manufactures a television or manufactures some consumable item. We see all. We see how things are going on, but behind the scenes, how things are working, what may be the aim for a company, how they reach to those kind of operational competences. That we like to see today, and we see how we as a company are looking forward to achieve them, and what kind of steps we are taking into that direction. Okay, some intro about my company. Volvo Group Trucks Operation. I belongs to the trucks division, where we work with the powertrain. What is powertrain for us is the heart of the full truck, the engine. So the plant I sit in, here we produce the truck engine of different kind of variety, diesel engine, petrol engine, and moving towards electrical engines also. Okay. As a company, what happens every 2 minutes? Every 2 minutes, a brand new truck leaves our company or leaves one of the production sites, which is ready to serve our customer from the business side. What happens in every 24 hours and 95% of the times? Here we see whenever a spare part demand or spare part need comes from a customer, we try to fulfill that within 24 hours with, I would say, 95% of the cases. And our next target is to make it like 99%. We see a picture which is very clearly visible, the old way of working, the traditional way of working with machines, traditional way of working with while we are producing something or manufacturing. Automobile unit can be a car, can be a truck. And other side, we see a new way of working where we are looking forward, the transformation we all are looking for. And as a company, we are looking for this transformation also. How we are achieving it, that we will discuss now. So our old way of working was the previously, what I showed you here. And with the transformation, we are doing a huge paradigm shift in the company. And when it comes to paradigm shift, it means new technology, it means how we operate and how we deliver our ambition, how we use our human force or how we use our resources to fulfill something like this picture. And this picture is actually explaining more about collaborative work between robots and human. Lot of digital dashboards, no paperwork, or I would say very less paperwork. In this case, of course, the risk is there, as mentioned by our previous speaker, that if we are totally digitally transformed, what will happen if we don't take care of it properly? What will happen if we don't take care of all the infrastructure, digital infrastructure properly? And that's again, another very important aspect. You will see that in coming slides. As a company, we are really taking care of those kind of aspects also. Who could think of such kind of truck just 10 years before the age? I think I had not thought about it much while being in India. There we have lots of traffic, and we always say that it's human brain which can work better than a machine like this, which is totally driverless. Even we don't have place for any driver to sit in. So that is what we are trying to really achieve in future. And what is making us do it? Of course, first thing is the fuel, which is really for looking for us that we should look for some alternative than fuel. So environmental concern is there for sure. Competition to stay in the market is another aspect, and requirements from our consumer is becoming our third aspect, what we see as is driving us towards a driverless truck or fully electrical truck also. Currently, as a company, we are supporting these three major brands, I can say, UD, Mac, and the third one we say Renault. So these three trucks we are supporting with their manufacturing also, apart from our own manufacturing. As a company, we are 100,000 employees. Our production facilities are in 18 countries, and we have 190 markets across the globe. That's how we are right now. I take you to some history. When it comes to our history, how we started, when we started, I think a quick glimpse on this will be very good. As a company, Volvo, we started in 1927. From where we came, our parent company is SKF, which is a very big bearing company, and everything rolls with those bearings. But their founders, the founders of SKF, they decided to start a car and a truck company. They started with car, the first Swedish car which could come out in 1928, and in 1929 they could start making some profit on cars. 1999, they decided that cars is not enough, one side, and second side, they thought that they don't have that big share in the market with respect to cars. So they actually divested, they totally disinvested, and they sold the company Volvo Cars to Ford, and which is right now sold to Geely, a Chinese company. So even if Volvo Cars and Volvo Group Trucks operation, we share the same brand name, but we are totally two different companies today after 1999. 2001, Volvo as a company, or Volvo Trucks as a company, acquired these three brands, which I just mentioned, UD, Mack Trucks, and Renault Trucks. So instead of being only one brand house, we actually became house of brands for us as a company. 2012, we merged everything together. We made a complete group trucks operation as a new body. It was not called as group trucks operation. It was called as normal Volvo or Volvo Trucks, and we were supporting other companies to make their trucks. But 2012, a big paradigm shift happened, and we could really form a new organization which involves all the previous three companies and our own production also. So what we brought together 50 plants, 81 distribution centers, and 5 different brands. Different cultures came together. Of course, our production of trucks, production of engine, axles, and logistics, we all came together. So operation with the Volvo Group Trucks is going on right now in 40 plants and 48 distribution centers around the globe. Currently, from 2012, where we are right now and how we want to see our future in this scenario. Of course, driverless and electrical cars or electrical trucks, I would say. That's our future. How we are shaping it. what we are trying to do to shape it. So here we say, when we say some kind of industrial framework which can drive our industrial transformation, we are really in big shift over here. We actually chose 6 major areas to create an effect on. And that starts from technology, that starts from machines, that starts from how that technology will be used, how good we can make our machines to work with, and how we can use our human force to bring that shape, or to develop that new shape as a company. And here we see, this is actually totally connected to the transformation and the future excellence, the very good topic of seminar. That's why I try to bring all these aspects from my company over here. The first area is product technology and new business model. Right now, we are working with petrol and diesel trucks. The future is not that. Future is more towards being electronic, being electrical, and bringing more driverless trucks, how we see it. And here we see exactly what we want to do, what could be our new business model, what kind of technologies we want to use in future. And here we need to make a very, very important decision, because this can really keep our company up or really make our company down. We all know what had happened to Nokia some years ago. By taking a different decision from a normal requirement, the company can really go away. How we want to achieve it? Connectivity is one of the important part for any smart factory, for any smart operation. Electromobility and being more autonomous with respect to machines. Second area, depth of engagement. What will be our engagement of production in coming future? What shall we be offering to our consumer? We shall be offering electrical machines, e-axles, transmissions, batteries. That becomes our very, very important and a robust spare part. I think when we say driverless trucks or when we say electrical trucks, then we all know if battery is not doing well, then it may stuck anywhere. Right now, we say we are able to achieve 95% of spare part requirement, or I would say in 24 hours we can deliver it. We do not know what will happen with the batteries if they get failed somewhere in mid of some kind of forest. And delivering a battery over there or getting it charged may become one issue. So infrastructure wise, the countries have to get ready with the charging points for such things. Cabs and driverless, that's where our future engagements look like. Industry 4.0, I think we all have heard a lot about it. A lot of material is available on internet connected to Industry 4.0. We all know about big data. We all know things are moving towards analytics. We all know what is artificial intelligence is and what is connectivity. So these kind of things are very clear. The only thing is we all know at the basics, what is it? The thing which is more tough is how we use it, how much we use it, and where we use it. That becomes a very important challenge for us over here. So flexible operations, material to man, how it is reaching, making it more automated, or geographical flexibility. That's in our flexible operation. Smart and connected operations, we talk about IoT, we talk about analytics, we talk about AI and connectivity. Digital operations, digital twins. I think I do not know how much you guys talk about digital twin, but here we really say absolutely imitating the machine instead of, or we can say simulating a full machine and seeing before any failure occurs in the machine, we see it under simulated model that if we run on a particular speed, what kind of changes may happen in the friction, what kind of changes may happen in the temperature, what kind of changes may happen in that important component and its forces. So those kind of things we are already in and we are using them in the company. So that's a very good being very good part of for being ahead. Digital threads, AR, VR, I think we know, augmented reality and virtual reality. That's very much is in the requirement. Here we say we are not that much in. We are really trying to get more used to of AR and VR tools as a company. So here we say digitalization and IT. And when we talk about we are trying to make everything more digital, we are trying to work towards driverless machines or driverless trucks. But if something happens in midst, what will happen? What and who is going to support it? And there we need lot of manpower, lot of back support, which is sitting in their offices and supporting those people who are driving or just running it through some kind of or that machine itself is talking to that manpower and trying to get solved it itself. So lot of IT support and lot of technology support shall be needed in the coming generation. So that's our really important target map for the future. Footprints. What we do today leaves the footprint for future. So we could see at the back what kind of footprints we have left and what kind of footprints and how grey we want to make them in future and where we want to make them. So where we are currently, what kind of transition we want to achieve and what kind of new offerings we are going to give. That will decide our footprints for the future. Very important aspect. Not the last, not the least, very important aspect. Nothing is complete without having human interface, without having human interference in the machines. So robots are also made by humans. So here I say collaborative work between robots, machines and man is very important. So our next strategy is to understand what kind of workforce we need, what could be our future workforce, what kind of competence they need. Years to understand a problem. They just work with it. Okay. The next one, how we operate it. It's actually Volvo operation concept. In short, we call it VPS, which is Volvo Production System. Here we say performance management, people development, improvement in the structure, lean production, end-to-end alignment. These are our 6 pillars for Volvo Production System. And here we clearly say, okay, customer success is possible. Customer satisfaction is possible if we are able to keep these 6 pillars equally and good. And we are trying to really achieve that as a company. So one of the aspects of those pillars or those areas what we consider is smart and connected operations. From the picture, we can really see it looks very easy and very cool to see everything is connected through Wi-Fi or through Ethernet. Every machine is telling what it is doing, and other machine knows what my previous machine is doing and what kind of action I'm supposed to do and where the data is going. Who is checking those data? So it looks very cool to see this picture that everything is quite and well connected. But is it that easy? And how we can achieve it? So the 4 important entities, IoT, analytics, AI, and connectivity, are the 4 important entities or terminologies we all use all the time. First thing, and it can take us to be a survivor or to be a thriver. Which direction we choose? Are we trying to be a smart factory? Are we trying to be a smart operation? to be a thriver, not to be just a survivor, or we are really happy where we are. So here the main decision comes in the picture. What kind of challenges, what kind of opportunities we have to use these four terminologies. Or when I say use, it means not only say it, it means how we can implement the usage of these four entities in our business. How can we keep IoT in place? How can we have better analytics? How can we use AI in our systems? How can we have connectivity among everything to everything? How we can achieve it? And what kind of challenges we have, what kind of opportunities we have. The first challenge is what we see as a company, a clear strategy, a very, very clear strategy. We should be very clearly know where we are today and what we are trying to achieve for future. What can be our future as a company? So that's very important. If we want to use these digitalization solutions, how can we do them better? What is a clear strategy for them? What is a clear strategy as a company for us? So that has to align very well. What can happen? Now here we need to find a trade-off. Cost, which is incurring right now because of production disturbances. Cost, which will happen when we implement these kind of digital solutions. And which cost is higher? What can give us better profit? That becomes another aspect over here. So first is, of course, the strategy and very clear strategy. Second is cost of production, how we see disturbances happening in the production. Is it okay? Are we accepting it as a company or are we not accepting it? Do we want to become a zero tolerance company where we say that zero error is the only tolerance we have? Even if we have one breakdown in the machine, that is not tolerant. And how we achieve it? If we are able to predict the future, if you are able to predict when that machine or where that particular important component may get fail. So that comes in the picture here. So that's how we decide what can be our future expectations. Overall equipment effectiveness, OEE. That is a very, very common term which we use in all the manufacturing industry. We manufacture anything. We talk about machine, we talk about machine availability. This is the first term which comes in the picture. On an average, 50% of machines are effectively used. We don't use 50% of available machine. So if machine is available for 8 hours, we are actually using them only for 4 hours per shift. So what it means, we are producing 200 units per day from that machine, from that 8-hour shift. We can produce, but how much we are producing actually? Only 100 units. Is it acceptable to us? No. We really have to make it at least 97% or 99% depends upon, or 95% depends upon what is our objective from those machines. So that becomes a very important opportunity over here. What we want to see as a future. Now, what dimensions can help us out to do that? We say we talked a lot about strategy and how we are going to achieve it, and here the integration starts. What machine to be connected to what system is to be connected to what, and what it is going to provide us in the end. So the two important aspects are horizontal integration and vertical integration. What is horizontal integration? It actually means networking between individual machines and items of the equipment. On the other side, vertical integration is beyond traditional way of working, beyond traditional production way of working. Here we talk about sensors, here we talk about business values and how sensor data can be used for business value. So when we say horizontal integration, again, it ensures that machinery, IoT devices, and engineering processes work together seamlessly. Example, we know a machine can produce two variant of products in the same machine, or it can actually grind very well, or it can actually make very good fining of the product we are producing on. So a code will be delivered to the machine, which will tell that now you need to produce variant 1 product. And you need to fine tune it up to a certain level of millimeter when you finish it from the outside. Okay, the code is fine. The second code comes, which tells you now you need to produce variant 2 of the product with this finishing. If some kind of jeopardize happen, if finishing of second variant is adjusted to one variant, then what will I produce? I will produce a defective product, a defective part from that particular machine. So that is where we say horizontal integration works very well. And that's what we as a company are already doing it. So we don't say that generally it's not purely traditional, it's in between traditional and Industry 4.0, where we have a very good integration between the codes behind the machine and what machine should be achieving. That we know what we are working for future, where we say as a company for us transformation, we see vertical integration. That what it allows production data and sensor data and how it can create better business value, how it can help us in taking decision on staffing, communication with the horizontal integration again, or any kind of ERP systems. So here we see more data analytics. Here we see more finding out remaining useful life of the machines. Here we try to see predictions. As a company, we have a lot of groups and teams which work for prediction of aftermarket. For example, they know that a particular variant of truck will have such kind of problem in these many hours after running. So they know exactly when a new query from customer is going to come. But when it comes to machine operation, when it comes to production plans, there we are not very much sure about it yet. We are still in the, I would say, steps. We are crawling on it. So that's where we are trying to develop ourselves more. What is digital consistency here? Very sorry. Digital consistency here. This is the term which we use to have better connectivity through 5G, to have better Wi-Fi connections, to have better Bluetooth connections, to have better Ethernet connections, to have connectivity of the entities of horizontal integration and connectivity within the entities of vertical integration. So the consistency should be existing. It should not be breaking out now and then. We should not say that, okay, we could save the data from first shift, but there was some problem digitally in the second shift, so we could not save the data. That's where we see the transformation. Fourth factor, a fourth dimension of any future factory is man, is human force, their domain knowledge. In the traditional way of working, man was supposed to stand on the machines to produce it. But now man is sitting behind the scenes. Man is looking at the data behind. Man can look at the machine while sitting in the office, maybe while sitting at the home. So we even call it many a times blackout factory, where we don't have any human being in the factory. And that we are doing already as a company in one of the plants. And here we say, okay, we don't have any person at night in the factory, but factory is running, it is producing. If anything happens, the alarm goes to one robot, which can check what may be the solution we have. If solution is okay to be put in, we do that. If it is not okay, Then only we bring human interface over here again. Then only we talk to human. Okay, this is a new problem. We need your domain expert knowledge now again here. Come in and help us out and start the machinery again. So that kind of aspect is transformation for me. Okay, how we are trying to achieve them as an industry. We all know big data and artificial intelligence. We all know connectivity. I think we all have heard about 5G a lot. We all know what 5G can do for us. Additive manufacturing. One example is 3D printer. So here we try to see alternatives for the final product, alternatives for the spare parts. That's where additive manufacturing comes. And we already have many printers within the company to I would say 3D printers, not only printers, 3D printers within the company, which are helping us to produce some spare parts for the machine. So we don't have to wait for lead time. We don't have to go through a big supply chain and bring it up. We are directly printing them there and then in 1 hour, and we start using in the machine and working fine again. We are again using our machine. So the downtime of the machine has been reduced. The travel cost has been reduced, the carbon footprints have been reduced. So many things which get controlled only by having one additive manufacturing part in the company. Collaborative automation, AR, VR, augmented reality and virtual reality. That's where I already mentioned we are I will not say struggling. We are actually experimenting them in different sites and seeing where it can be implemented. So we are in the stage of such projects as a company for transformation, trying to check in which part of the company we can use this technology and where we cannot use this technology. So according to that kind of setup, we will buy more devices to use such technology, and of course making correct videos and seeing how much it is adaptable for us. Big challenges or grand challenges what we have when we say everything is automated, it must work. Equipment must work after being autonomous. More technology, more softwares and hardwares to maintain, so additive cost on it. Our existing machines cannot be totally scrapped. We still need to use them. So upgrading them is costing us a lot if we really go for higher level of transformation. What is smart operation for us then? How we are working or how we are dealing with it? What components we consider for our digital manufacturing or digital factory? One, I see data-driven decision, data collection, right data collected in the right quality and right analysis has to be made. So here we say garbage in, garbage out. If we are taking in the garbage, we do not know what data we are collecting. We are collecting just anything. It will not give us any output. If we do not know exactly what we want to achieve, it will not give us anything. So here we have to be really clear. Data collection, right. Data quality, right. And data analysis, right. These are the key factors from data-driven decisions. Adaptability, analysis, competence, business competence, social skills, IT competence, and domain experts in our human force. So here we say that we have current human force, which is with us for last 20 years, 30 years. The same person is working for us with the same kind of thing for last 30 years. So he or she knows exactly what that machine or that kind of component had been in last 30 years. Shall we stay like that? Shall we keep on bringing more people along with him and just understand that their experts or their expert knowledge, their domain knowledge is delivered to the new person in next 10 years? Or we should convert their knowledge into some kind of model and then give it to the new people. So two things. We keep the same people, but we don't give them new knowledge, new competence. Other side, we give new competences to our human capital. Third aspect, external integration. So when it comes to data, a lot of discussions happen. Who owns the data? Is it the sensor company who owns the data, or is it us who bought the sensor from them, who bought the technology from them? Those owns the data. They should give us good raw material. They should give us good data flow. If we don't buy data from them, if initially we just buy the technology at very cheaper rate and we say, okay, we will buy data from you later on, or we buy data from them from the starting. So here, very good flow is important. Very good flow of product and services, the partnership with our suppliers and vendors, and collaboration with them for different businesses. Internal integration within the company. We should be really sure in different divisions how assembly wants a product to be when it comes from the machining area, from where we actually grind and mile the component and then send it for assembly. What kind of integration? And then we make the shape of an engine. So that's very fascinating to see here. And there we see that what exactly machining needs, what level machining needs. So a foundry has to get adapted to the level of machining. So here everybody is customer to each other. So that collaboration, that kind of cross-functional collaboration is really needed here. So in very easy terms, we talk about being connected, we talk about being real time through AR, VR, and we talk about prediction. So what is connectivity? In a human interface, we all are connected to different kind of social media sites. And here we talk about connectivity among machines, that what one machine is doing is known by other one live. We really choose what kind of network we want to get in. And here we really choose what kind of solution we need through AR and VR for a particular kind of maintenance, for a particular kind of assembly, or for production. When you search something at YouTube or Google, when you Google something, then you get new advertisements for your search. And here we look at machine failure. We try to predict on machine failure. We try to predict on what kind of new complaints can come from aftermarket and what kind of complaints can come from in the market. It means when we are producing things, which machines need more help soon in future. So that's what we look at into transformation. And here we see the left corner picture is actually where my factory is located. It's a very beautiful place where I work. Right now we are in -13 in the temperature. It's full white outside, lots of snow and sun shining. So it's very beautiful outside here. And the second picture is the factory where I belong to. Third picture is the foundry area where we are actually melting the iron. So this is the level of heat people face every day there. The fourth picture I'm showing is from the assembly line of us. Thank you so much. And please give me any questions even later on, even after we take one question here. If anyone has more questions, you can just email me over here. No problem. Thank you so much here.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your valuable thoughts with us. The floor is now open for questions. I would like to hand over the floor for moderation to Mr. Harshit Jain.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good
The
afternoon.
question I wanted to ask you is that, according to you, what challenges and experience player faces to switch over to new technology, and how it impacts the current employment?
Yeah, of course. I actually myself get so many questions being in such a position where I really have to bring new technology and new developments in the company. The first thing is the mindset. I really have to bring people at such a mindset that they should adapt to new technology. So human force or human factor is very, very important here. I think technology is developed by many companies. Technology we are developing inside the company also. That's not a problem. The problem is the mindset. data-driven mindset and mindset for new technology. That I feel as a major factor, and bringing them to a level that they accept it. That's actually challenging, and we can say uh, it doesn't come in one day. It took me 2 years to bring them to a level that they accept what kind of solution I'm providing them. So now they have started to listen to me, and hopefully in future they will adapt it totally. It will take time, so it's a time factor which solves the problem. It's not, and it has to be needle them again and again that this is the future. We really have to go forward to it. So that's what we see as a solution here.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you for the answer. Now
Thank you.
handing over to comparing team.
Thank you so much, Harshit. Thank you, ma'am. I would now request Dr. Sugandha Agarwal and Dr. Shivani Wali to felicitate Dr. Kanika Gandhi.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, I would like to introduce our next keynote speaker to you, Professor Dr. Sidhartha S. Padhi. Professor Padhi is an associate professor in the Quantitative Methods and Operations Management Group at the Indian Institute of Management, Kozhikode. He has done his postdoctoral from ETH Zurich, Switzerland, and PhD in Industrial and Systems Engineering from IIT Kharagpur. His areas of interests include procurement, auction, e-procurement, in government supply chain risk management. He has published several book chapters and articles in journals including Decision Sciences, International Journal of Production Research, Journal of Purchasing and Supply Management, Journal of Cleaner Production, International Journal of Project Management and Operational Research. He is also engaged in various consultancy projects with Government of India. Sir, we are honored to have you with us today. I would now request you to address the audience. Please, sir. Sir, you're not audible. Sir, can you please unmute yourself?
Now I'm audible? Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, we can hear you. Sir, can you please switch on your video, if possible?
I'm doing that. It's not activated. Can you activate this?
No worries, sir. We'll check it.
Can you see my screen now?
Yes, sir.
Quickly, I'll focus on some of the aspects which is very important for all of us to know. The dimensions, that is what's called sustainable development goals. When we say sustainable development goals, there are 17 goals. starting from no poverty to partnerships for the goals. Out of these 17 goals, my research area, where I do generally a team of researchers who are in collaboration with IIM Kozhikode and other IIMs and also foreign universities, we are conducting research on goal number 2, 3, goal number 12, and also goal number 10. So basically 2, 3, and 10 and 12. So starting with the goal number 2 and 3, which is nothing but zero hunger and good health and well-being. So what are the substitutes? What we can offer to cater to or to prevent this kind of zero hunger, or to meet the goal or SDG goal 2, that is zero hunger, and goal 3, that is good health and well-being. Considering that these two goals can be mitigated using a combined or combination of an approach that is known as nutraceuticals. So nutraceuticals is one of the solutions, that is what we are proposing to attain these two goals, that is goal 2 and goal 3. So we just want to know what exactly this nutraceutical and how it is going to affect our whole attain these two goals. So first one, malnutrition. So when we say that either it is a obesity or a malnutrition, these are the two sides of a problem. So either because of over diet, people face different kind of issues, or without having food. So considering this, what we tried, like where we stand in terms of this global hunger index, because obesity is a problem for developed countries, like if you say US, Germany, or UK, but for India, who stands 94 in the list of global hunger index, our problem is different. Maybe you can say that, okay, 5 to 6% of the people are suffering from obesity, but remaining, the majority of the people, that is what we are saying, is the problem with the nutrition. So how we are going to feed our people? So in this context, what is the role of a supply chain? So as I'm from a supply chain domain, I would like to connect or find out what are the research avenues through which we can find out the solution for sustainable development goal number 2 and 3. So considering India as a context or the scenario which ranks 94 in the global hunger index, and we just want to find out what are the procedures or what are the solutions that we can offer. For example, Outlook in its cover page says that what about Azadi from hunger? So if you see, like, what is the relationship of your global hunger index with HDI, that is Human Development Index? So when you say Human Development Index, there are 3 parameters or 3 indicators. First one, longevity, education, second, and third one is your education. So considering this, when we say that Kerala, which is HDI is 0.78, is almost equivalent to European countries, but there are like states like Jharkhand, Odisha, there are other states which is even below the national average, which is 0.43. So considering there are health issues, how India should go ahead to meet this nutrition. So considering this, we are proposing a concept or a product, those are known as nutraceutical. So what is nutraceutical? Nutraceutical is nothing but a combination of food and pharma. If you look into the growth of companies, then majorly it is pharmaceutical company. If you go to the stock market, share market, apart from other companies like agriculture companies, majorly there is a huge growth in the pharmaceutical companies. And apparently, if you see the COVID-19, this situation.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir.
Yeah.
Your PPT slides are not moving. It's on the first slide only. Yes, it is now. And sir, can you put it on the full screen mode as well?
Uh, now is it visible?
It's visible, sir, but it's not in the full screen mode. It's fine, sir. Thank you so much.
Is it okay if I
Yes,
do
sir.
this
It's
way?
fine.
Some this industry 4.0, right? So some issues. Anyway,
No
so
problems.
related to this, basically, my point, that is what I'd like to emphasize, is what are the research areas through which we can actually able to solve these SDG goals, and what are the problems. So first one is your nutraceutical. So nutraceutical is an alternative for food and pharmaceutical. It's a combination. For example, what exactly nutraceutical is all about? Now, like Yakult, Pediasure, Lactozane, therapeutic food, Cerelac, these are all nutraceuticals products. Why it is nutraceutical? Because there is a food and also nutrition, like calcium component, or you can say that or different kinds of iron, mineral. What are the different requirement for a healthy diet? That is what being supplemented along with the food. That is what is known as the nutraceutical. So what we are saying, rather than running behind food or people those are having obesity or malnutrition, providing them medicine, why don't we can go for a balanced diet by providing in nutraceutical products? In this dimension, what we observe, world market is expected to increase with 758 billion and Indian market of 18 billion in terms of nutraceutical products. So as a business community or people those are into the business domain, they can see that nutraceutical is the next generation food which is going to transform the business, and how to increase the potential or the market. In this regard, what we would like to say, so what are the basic questions? That's what we need to ask. If I know that nutraceutical is my next generation food which is going to satisfy the not only SDG goal 2 and 3 but also in different aspects, so what exactly the research question we need to ask? So the first question, that is what we would like to ask, is should future studies on nutraceutical industry like Horlicks, like Glaxo, or if you can say that like your Fortune 500 companies like maybe you can say Smith Klein. So these are the companies which are basically into this nutraceutical industry. We relate it to the goal stated in international agreements. So how can we study that nutraceutical industry to align with Sustainable Development Goal 2 and 3? And what are the different kind of behavioral aspects? Because if you ask people to eat something which is supposed full of nutrition and also if there's a food supplement, people may not like there is called a behavioral aspect. How you can make the product affordable, accessible and acceptable. That is also a next level challenge. And third challenge, but that's called as operations related. So how we are going to satisfy, or how supply chain dimension or operations dimension would like to satisfy or meet those requirements. Now basically if you see a global map, who stands where? Now if you can see that red whether it's India and Pakistan, these two states, two countries, you can see that is serious GHI countries, like Global Hunger Index. In this context, you can see India is actually positioned as red. So considering this, what we need to do, how to create awareness, how can be the let food be the medicine by Hippocrates, the father of Western medicine, or what are the behavioral dimension we need to capture? So that is what we would like to investigate. So the first research question, that is what we would like to understand, to come up with a conceptual framework on consumer behavior perspectives for functional foods And second one, sustainable supply chain network model for optimal sourcing. So why these two? The first one, I would like to relate it with one of your very interesting phenomena, maybe with sports analytics. For example, when we say the second point, sustainable supply chain network model for optimal sourcing, why it is required? So to develop a product, you required outsourcing. You required to source those raw materials. And to source raw materials, you required suppliers. And these suppliers are located in different geographical locations. So ultimately, if you can say it's a network. In a supply network, if a company, suppose you say that Glaxo is a company who like to procure some of the raw materials, for example, to produce biscuits, which is a nutraceutical, Horlicks biscuits. Or maybe you can say the Horlicks itself, the powder. Or that. Now, in that case, what happened? It required the supplier to supply the raw material to the manufacturing unit. Now, what if? So what are the challenges then? So basically, if you look into the supply chain literature, there are generally three issues. One is how I'm going to select a supplier. Second one, how many suppliers I need to select. So what is the supplier base? 2, 3, 4. Because in case some of the supplier may not be able to supply, to mitigate those risks, generally I need to have multiple suppliers. That's why second question is how many suppliers? How to select a supplier? How many? And third one, how to split the contract or how to split the number of units. If company SmithKline require to produce 1,000 units of Horlicks, like for example, you say 1 kg Horlicks packets, and for that it requires suppose 1,000 input raw material. Now there are two suppliers. How to split 60-40, 70-30, 20-80 or 100-0? That is also a bigger challenge. So considering these challenges, and now the most critical part is if there is a supply uncertainty. Supply uncertainty means like catastrophe, man-made or natural, suppose earthquake, tsunami, or like you say, like COVID-like situation, when a supplier may not be able to supply the raw material to the manufacturer. Here, who is the manufacturer? Here the manufacturer is SmithKline. So here the supplier may not be able to supply the product to the manufacturer, and manufacturer wants 1,000 units. So in that case, how to split under the risk of supply risk? So these are the challenges. That is what is important and need to be addressed from the nutraceutical dimension. So if you replace nutraceutical with any other products, these are the major problem. That is what is going to a company is being faced. So second problem, which is consumer behavior. How I need to take care of the consumer dimension so that they can start consuming this product. Like when we say green product, we need to have a sustainable product. We need to have eco-friendly product. But how many? Or maybe zero plastic use. But how many of us are really serious about it? Because that's a behavioral dimension. So considering this, how a company would like to introduce a product, that is the downside to the consumer, and in the upside, how he will able to maintain the supply of input or raw material to manufacture a product. So that is why it's called end-to-end. So considering nutraceutical is the solution for sustainable development goal number 2 and 3, we would like to propose these two dimensions, and this two dimension, that is what we are currently working on. So out of which, if you are really interested to know that what is the solution for splitting a products, if a company would like to source 1,000 units or 1,000 units of raw material and suddenly disruption happened. So the answer is there with you, sports analytics, that's called cricket match. So just take this analogy with a cricket match. So in a cricket match, suppose you consider two teams are playing against each other, like for example, South Africa and Sri Lanka. So Sri Lanka scored 300 with 50 overs, with 10 wickets. Now, if I would like to see this from a supply chain dimension, how I would like to establish an analogy with this 300 runs, 50 overs and 10 wickets. So this 300 runs is nothing but 300 units. That is my requirement. So how much Sri Lanka has to score? It is 300 runs. So as a supplier, when I see I need to supply 300 units, 50 overs, that means 50 days. That is the lead time. So within 50 days or 50 overs. So what we are saying that this 50 overs is nothing but now 50 days or a lead time. And third one, 10 wickets. That means capacity. So a supplier with 100% capacity, that means if you have 10 wickets, that means you have 100% capacity and need to supply the 300 units within 50 days. That is the lead time. So capacity of the supplier, lead time and number of units, that is what a manufacturer is asking. Now, how to solve a problem if after 20 days there is a disruption happened like COVID-like situation? So you know there is a principle called Duckworth-Lewis principle. So DL principle generally we say. So using DL principle, one can try to find out how to split the target. Like if a supplier is to supply 300 units within 50 days with 100% capacity, and after 10 days, suddenly some disruption happened. So you may use the Duckworth-Lewis principle to split. Okay, so we don't need 300 units. Rather, what I can do, you supply me 144 units, and then remaining, as a manufacturer, it is not only your responsibility to have a collaborative relationship with the supplier, but at the end, you need remaining products also, because everybody is tightening their belts. So you require 300 and your primary supplier is only be able to supply 144 units using your Duckworth-Lewis principle or by some agreements. Then you say, look, 144 can you supply? Then you may say, no, I can't supply 144, I will supply 120. Then you need another 180. So if the primary supplier is supplying 120, you require the remaining out of 300 is 180 units. That is where you need to go for a secondary supplier or called backup supplier. And you ask the backup supplier to supply 180. And that is where your price. How much price? Because you know that you are going for a spot purchase. So how to optimize? So then it will become a multi-objective approach. So how much price? So there's already a lapse of 10 days because the disruption happened after 10 days. So had it been the case of no disruption, then the primary supplier would have actually supplied you all the 300 units. Because of the disruption like COVID, tsunami, earthquake, the supplier is not in a position to supply. The same thing happened in the case like the New Mexico plant of Albuquerque, where the Philips plant, because of the lightning, they were not in the position to supply the product to Nokia and the Ericsson. That was the time when, like in the 2000 March 10, due to sudden lightning, some portion of the Philips plant was burned, and that is why they were not in a position to supply the required quantity to the Nokia and to the Ericsson. So now under that condition, how you like to split and how the multiple objectives, because when you say sustainability means triple bottom line: economically, socially, and environmentally. If we say that these are my three objectives, and under each objective, how would you like to meet those requirements? And in that case, also you need to consider the consumer behavioral aspects to find out how much a company should produce and from where you like to buy the products, locally or globally. If you extend your model not only for the local supplier but also for the global supplier, and there is a price premium for your local and global, then your objective function will be more, and ultimately you will need to find a solution or a feasible region to find out where you would like to locate your supplier how much quantity you would like to get it from the supplier, how much price you would like to get it, and considering there is a dynamic behavior of a consumer because consumers' demands is varying over a period of time. So these are the research problems. That is what one can solve. So moving forward, the next or the last one is SDG. Because of the time constraint, I'll just focus on SDG goal number 12, which is known as responsible consumption and production. So when we say responsible consumption and production, it's the major problem. That is what we are facing. There are two dimensions. One is end of life. Second one is end of use. If there is an end of use, now we can see like bottles, like cars, or maybe electronic devices like electronic mobile phones, all these gadgets. Although the life is more, but people generally use it for a smaller period of time. So end of use happen faster than end of life. And then generally we dispose of or to the environment. So considering the sustainability dimension like economical, environmental, and social dimension, how a company should focus on development of a product. Now, what is the relationship with your product development and this goal number 12, that is your responsible consumption and production? The first dimension. And what are the research challenges? Question number 1. There is a paradox. What do you mean by paradox? Like if you are implementing Industry 4.0, what exactly you are doing? Mass customization, right? You are using 4 pillars like IoT or big data or augmented reality to find out a customized or your mass customization of a product. So that means you can reach to the market very fast. That's called speed to the market model. So now consider a case, for example, Samsung or Apple. These two companies, they thought of, let's go for Industry 4.0. So ultimately the product, that means product launch, the time gap between launching of a product is now going to be reduced. Like if you see, at presently, every 9 months, Samsung is producing or introducing a new product in the market. And for Apple, it is after every 13 months, you can see they introduce a new model. Apple 11, Apple 12, Apple 13, so on and so forth. Now, using Industry 4.0, what they can achieve? They can achieve faster speed to the market. So easily they can launch their product in the market. But at the same time, if I consider regulation that is known as take back regulation. So what do you mean by take back regulation? Government will impose that you are not supposed to pollute the environment. Why? Because if you are producing a product and the consumer are getting those products and then leaving those products in the environment or like disposing, then it is ultimately that there is a loss to the environment. So you are not allowed to do that. So in return, what you have to do, you have to take it back. Now there is a 2 different currents are moving. One is in the forward direction, that means product launching, and one is reverse direction, that's called your product take back. So considering this product launching and product take back, a company like Apple or Samsung or any of the companies, what is the optimal time to launch a product? That is the major question. That is what is going to be the challenge for all the companies. Companies, those are having a product which is durable products. Like if you say mobile phones, computers, laptop, even your true value cars, first choice car. So if a company is producing, at the same time, they have to take it back after the end of use. So that is where your operations research need, like from when you say a policy maker is implementing a policy or a regulation that if a company is producing products, then it has the responsibility to take it back because it is creating environmental impact. So considering environmental impact, economic impact, and social impact, what is the research challenges for operation? Who should take the responsibility then? It is the responsibility of the government to take back the product, or it is the responsibility of the manufacturer, or it is the responsibility of the consumer. Like if you go to the near to the Delhi and UP side, you'll see it's become a dump yard. And there is a case against, and these two states are fighting a case against each other. Like you can't landfill because there are lots of electronics gadgets or lots of end of use products, those are being landfill and there is no land to fill. So considering this, whose responsibility and why should one take the responsibility? That is where we say that product take back regulation is more important to achieve SDG goal number 12. So what is that? There are basically two types. Either government will set a rate, that means at least 70% or 80% of the products that you are producing or you are launching in the market, you have to take it back after a certain interval of time. That's called rate model. Or there is a tax model. Whenever you are selling a product, there will be a tax because the tax, through this tax, the third party or government will take it back or take the responsibility of taking it back. So considering these two dimensions, either a rate model or a tax model, the next question is how much should be the tax and what should be the rate? That means 80%, 70%, 90% or 10%. How much product a company should take it back from the market and after how many years or how many months? That is, these are the two major questions. And third question, if a government would like to impose a tax for taking it for take back policies, then how much it should tax a company? So these are the challenges through which one can also solve, like that is what the operational dimension through which one can solve the problem of take back policy instrumentation. So considering this, what are the research questions? When we consider all these kind of policies or regulation that is being imposed by government, highly likely that majority of them are failed. Why? Because generally we borrow it from foreign countries like US and UK, and without any modification amendment, we try to implement. That is why 4 years back, when Government of India implemented this SDG goal number 12, by saying that all companies, all manufacturer has to take back its 90% of its product from the market, and it's failed miserably. Last year, they changed it to 10%. If a company is interested, if a company has to take back 10% of its product, then it's fine. All else they have to pay the tax. So we don't know how much should be the take back percentage, 10%, 50%. That is where we need to have a clear understanding. Second one, as a manufacturer, what is my benefit? What is my utility? If I am taking it back from the market, how I am going to use it? Is there anything which is there anything additive advantage or there is a competitive advantage of taking it back? Or simply because of the penalty or because government is imposing the tax or the rate, that is why I have to take it back. So they say if the tax or the penalty is lower than taking it back and again landfilling it, then definitely I will prefer to pay the tax. So the utility of a manufacturer or the customer or the government, that is what also is question, that is what we need to answer. Who is getting what? Why should a company, or that's, even we can say it's a larger scale, it's a behavioral issue. Why a manufacturer is not interested to take it back? Why a consumer is not interested to dispose of before the, at the end of use? Or why a consumer is not going back to the manufacturing unit and giving it back to the company? Or why a social planner always need to implement policies to take it back? Because there is a behavioral issue. Because if I am not getting any benefit out of it, then definitely I am not going to use it. So how much utility a company or a manufacturer or a consumer or a social planner is getting by implementation of this take back regulation? That is also an important question to be asked. So with this, I'll just like to conclude. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your valuable views with us. The floor is now open for the questions. I would like to hand over for moderation to Mr. Chirag Bansal.
Good afternoon, sir. We have a question for you. What role will India play in global sustainable development goals?
Yeah.
What role will India play in global sustainable development goals?
Look, when you say it is a United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, it's countries when they all meet with, like Copenhagen, like Kyoto Protocol. After this and Sun movement, when after these movements, generally all the countries in listed in United Nations, they take up a responsibility that we will formulate these 17 goals, like goal number 1 to goal number 17. So it's a combination, it's a consortium which developed this goal. Now, for your knowledge, or last year, Donald Trump, the president of US, he said that we will not follow the SDG goals. So it is the involvement of all the nation, out of which one country can say that, no, I am not interested to follow. Like US denied to follow the rules of United Nations. It is, the full name is UNSDG, United Nations Sustainable Development Goal, where India is also a partnering country.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Now over to comparing team.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chirag. Now I would like to call Dr. Sandhya Makkar and Dr. Shivani Bali to felicitate Dr. Sidhartha Padhi.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. As we come towards the closure of the Operations and Analytics seminar, LBSIM desires to express its gratitude for all those involved. For this, may we request Dr. Sugandha Agarwal, Seminar Joint Convener and Assistant Professor, Operations Management, Lal Bahadur Shastri Institute of Management, Delhi, to deliver the vote of thanks. Ma'am, please.
Good evening to all. It is my great honor and privilege to propose vote of thanks on this occasion. The day-long proceedings were very fruitful and productive for all the audience present both online and offline. Seminars like these require a lot of hard work and dedication. On behalf of LBSIM, I convey my deep regards and heartfelt thanks to all the guests and the eminent speakers for gracing the occasion with their esteemed presence. It was an honor to have Professor U.D. Kumar from IIM Bangalore as a chief guest for today's seminar. I express deep gratitude and wholehearted thanks to him for sharing his interesting and valuable insights. We are extremely thankful to the keynote speakers in session 1, Mr. Shiv Kumar, in session 2, Mr. Varun Mehta, and Dr. Krishna Venkatesh for sharing their knowledge. I would also like to thank our keynote speakers from the third session, Professor Dr. Prem Chhetri, Professor Dr. O.P. Wali, Dr. Kanika Gandhi, and Dr. Sidhartha S. Padhi, for sharing their knowledge on business transformation in various sectors in India and abroad. I would like to express profound gratitude to Sri Anil Shastri, Chairman, BOG, LBSIM, for his encouragement and in supporting us for organizing such a thought-provoking and intellectual event. My heartfelt thanks to Professor Praveen Gupta, Director, LBSIM, for his invaluable support and constant guidance throughout. We are extremely thankful to Dr. Shivani Bali, convener of this seminar, for organizing event like this on such a great and ongoing topic. Our sincere thanks to Professor G.L. Sharma, Head New Projects and Advisor Corporate Interface, LBSIM, for supporting the seminar. We would also like to thank Mr. Naresh Wadhwa, Assistant Placement Officer, for all his support. My sincere thanks to Dr. Sandhya Makkar and Dr. Rajkumari Mittal, Joint Convener of the seminar, and all the members of the organizing committee and all the other committees for their support and assistance throughout the seminar. I wish to acknowledge the untiring efforts of the administrative staff and the technical team members. A special mention for Colonel Ajay Sood, Chief Administrative Officer, Mr. Sachin Khera, Administrative Officer, Mr. Rajesh Thakur, Senior Technical Assistant, and Mr. Lalit Panwar, Lab Assistant, for their support. This kind of events are not possible without the hard work and support of all the faculty members, staff, and students. My sincere thanks to all LBSIM faculty members for their assistance and participation in the seminar. I also thank the Media and Communication Cell, led by Dr. Samant Chandpriya, Associate Professor, LBSIM, for the exhaustive coverage of the event on various media platforms. We are thankful to Management Grid for their contribution and support in making this event successful. I wish to acknowledge the creative inputs provided by our students of Operations and Analytics Club, Eureka, and DARE. I wish to thank the comparing team and the moderating team, and also all the students connected with us on Microsoft Teams and through live streaming on Facebook and YouTube for enthusiastically attending this seminar online. Last but not the least, I would like to thank all those who have directly or indirectly contributed to making this event a success. Thank you all. Thanks to the audience for patiently listening us since morning. Very much looking forward to see you all next year. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I request Mr. Yash Khanna, President, Management Grid, Lal Bahadur Shastri Institute of Management, Delhi, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Good evening, one and all present here. I, Yash Khanna, President, Management Grid, LBSIM, on behalf of the entire fraternity of Lal Bahadur Shastri Institute of Management, would like to offer my sincere thanks to our esteemed guests for taking out their valuable time for this year's International Operations and Analytics Seminar. This seminar would not have been possible without the constant support of all our faculty in charge. I would also like to thank the organizing committee of the seminar for making sure that everything proceeded smoothly. Lastly, I would like to thank the audience for patiently listening throughout and for being the part of this seminar. I hope to see you all next year's seminar as well, and thank you everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Khanna. We would like to thank our esteemed speakers for sparing their valuable time and gracing this event. It was a pleasure and an extremely enriching experience witnessing such an insightful session. Thank you.